my name is Madeline, and today I'm going to be showing you some of the functionalities and features of Desmos. So Desmos is an online graphing tool that is really useful in all sorts of math classrooms. Let's say that your classroom doesn't have a handheld set of calculators. This site is free. It's downloadable as an app. So it's really useful in place of that, but also it has many different features and functions that maybe if you want to do something other than graphing. So it's a really useful tool for any math classroom. So the first thing that we can do in Desmos is notice how it pops up with the graph. And we can go ahead and graph any function. So I'll say x plus 3. The nice thing about this is as soon as you plug anything in, it's going to go ahead and pop up on the graph, and it is dynamically linked, and then we can see the different points. The other cool feature about this is that it actually allows students to solve equations within the features if you know properties of graphs. So I just plugged in x plus 3 equals 5, and as we know, in a graph, your solution is going to pop up on the x-axis. So that's showing me that it's a point 2, 0. And so that 2 would be our solution. So that's something super useful if maybe you have a couple students who are having trouble solving equations by hand. You'll be able to pull up Desmos and show them how to do it on here. Okay. The other thing that I really like about Desmos is that whatever function that we plug in, so I'll just say x plus 7, we can change the color of it. So if we go over here, it's red. We can make it any color that we might want to. So if we're graphing more than 1, so let's say x plus 10. Notice how it shows up as a different color. And another thing this is useful for is not only does it help you solve one-step equations, but it also helps you solve two-step equations. So I know in a lot of the lower level Math 1 classes, students might have trouble solving equations that require more than one step. So we can actually go in and show them how that can be used as a graph, and that actually helps students see the relationship between the graph and the equations themselves, which it helps create a deeper understanding of the concept. So in order to do that, I can just say x plus 7 equals So I can go ahead and zoom in, and then actually we're going to go ahead and plug it into the second, and then notice that we can see where it intersects, and then our solution will be the x value of the coordinate. Other things that this allows you to do is you can create a table, you can insert images, you can create expressions, and it's really easy to use. Let's say if I'm accidentally mistype something, there's the undo buttons right here, so it's not super complicated to find. We can delete everything and start over. But other than graphing, we can actually pick which topic we want to focus on. So let's say I'm trying to do tangent lines. So this has already created a slider for me. And what that'll do is I can manipulate the slider, and it's going to show me how that changes the derivative and how that changes the function of the tangent line. So they have a lot of things that are already created for you, so you don't have to go back and actually create something from scratch, because they have many, many, many different activities that are already there for your use. And the nice thing about this too is that you can go to teacher.desmos, and this actually already has pre-made activities, so I can go in and search through. So let's say that I'm looking for an activity about linear systems. They have many different activities, and it describes what the activity is about. It shows you how long it's planned to take the activity, and then notice how it also says introduction. So for the second activity, this might be a good activity if you're introducing linear equations. So if I click on this, I can create a class code. So students will insert that code, and you'll actually be able to see their work on their screens and see exactly where they're at, so you can slow the pace of it. If one student's moving ahead, you can fasten that pace. So it's really helpful to use to let students explore on their own and maybe have classwork that's something different and something a little bit more fun. So this is what the students will see, and it already has a different, it has teacher moves for you, so you don't, other than creating your lesson, it tells you what you need to think about as you're doing this activity. And so let's just say I can put, so let's say a student says no, I can share it with the class, and then other students' responses would show up in this section. So that's a good way if you wanted to have a discussion, but maybe you wanted to give students a chance to look at other ideas. This would be very useful for that, those discourse sort of moves. So notice how it shows me all the screens. So it shows me that it's 23 screens. It lets me show the student preview. And then if I have an account, I can actually save this. So I can save the student work, and it'll, so then I can go back and grade it. Also up here, something that's super helpful is it shows what platforms it's available on. So notice that this activity would not be good to use for a phone, but it is useful for a laptop and a tablet. And then if it has a different language that's available in, you will be able to find it here. So back to our regular application. Like I said, there's many different activities that you can play with, so you don't have to create your own. And I think that it's a great tool that educators can collaborate with. You can create your own if you like, which is something else that's useful, because let's say you want to edit the activity a little bit to fit what your lesson plan was revolved around. You can do that, or you can find one that fits the standards. Let's see. So let's say that I'm introducing the standard form of parabola. I can open the graph, and notice how this has created a slider for me too. So this is similar to GeoGebra in the fact that you can manipulate the slider to show you the different functions of a parabola. So students will be able to gauge in this and really explore on their own what the different coefficients of the parabola standard form equation does. And exploration really just leads to a deeper understanding of the concept. So if I slide A, we notice that it widens or narrows, and students would be able to discover that. If I slide B, we notice that it shifts the graph. And if I slide C, we notice that it moves the graph up or And that's just another thing that students would be able to recognize. And if I wanted to let them see it in real time, it has a play button so that it moves on its own. So that really lets students explore on their own what the different features of a parabola does. So I'm going to go back to a blank graph. So like I said, this is just really useful as a separate tool for students to use if they don't necessarily like using a handheld graphing calculator. Some of the functionalities of a handheld like TI Inspire are not helpful because students on the graphing calculator, a negative and a subtraction sign doesn't necessarily mean the same thing, but in Desmos, if they get confused on that, they mean the same thing. So it's just a enhancing tool for graphing, but also for many different other sections of math.